Hello, I'm Harry Erba here at the 2017 ASCO convention in Chicago, Illinois. On Monday, June 5th, I will be presenting a poster presentation of a phase 1 study of AMG 232 in patients with relapsed and refractory acute myeloid leukemia. AMG 232 is a small molecule inhibitor which inhibits the interaction between MDM2, mouse double minute 2, and the p53 tumor suppressor oncoprotein. In so doing, it will reactivate p53, leading to cellular apoptosis. Based on some early efficacy findings in a first-in-human study with AMG 232, as well as animal model data of the monotherapy plus or AMG 232 with trametinib, a MEK inhibitor, we launched this phase 1 study in adults with acute myeloid leukemia who had either relapsed or refractory disease. The requirement to be on the study was that patients had to, could not have mutated p53, and also they could not have a complex karyotype unless we proved that they didn't have p53 mutation. This was a heavily pretreated group of patients. The median age was 68. 40% of the patients had 3 or more prior lines of therapy. AMG 232 was administered daily, single dose, in a dose escalation, and with trametinib in a second escalation cohort, so monotherapy and with trametinib. In the monotherapy cohort, it would be 7 days on, 7 days off as one cycle. In the combination, it was the same, 7 days on, 7 days off, with trametinib continuous dosing at 2 milligrams daily for the whole 14 days. We treated 35 patients on this phase 1 study. We found that the dose-limiting toxicity was predominantly GI toxicity with nausea and diarrhea in more than 50% of patients, typically grade 1 and 2, but the maximally tolerated dose was found to be 360 milligrams once daily. In the combination study, we have not reached a maximally tolerated dose, but we are early in that escalation with AMG 232 60 milligrams daily with trametinib 2 milligrams, so very early on there. In terms of other efficacy data, we had 22 patients who were actually evaluable for efficacy, had completed the DLT period of the first 28 days. And of those 22, we actually had 5 responses. 1 was a complete remission, another was a partial remission, and 3 were the morphologic leukemia-free state. Now in 4 of those 5 patients, we actually had the p53 data, and they were all wild-type p53. In terms of pharmacokinetics, we noticed that there was increasing exposure to AMG 232 with increasing dose, as might be expected. In the cohort with AMG 232, we did not see any effect of AMG 232 on the pharmacokinetics of trametinib. We also did some pharmacodynamic analyses looking at reactivation of p53, and we did this in a couple of different ways. One, we used a validated assay for macrophage inhibitory cytokine 1, or MYC1, and found that there was increase in levels of MYC1 during the period of time that patients were on AMG 232. We also collected bone marrow samples and found increases in RNA expression, gene expression, for a number of p53 dependent genes such as BAX, MDM2, and p53 themselves. So we were very encouraged by this data in terms of seeing tolerability at a dose that appears to have some efficacy in patients with acute myeloid leukemia, and obviously the plans would be to further explore this drug as monotherapy or in combination, since it reactivates p53.